Welcome to the Stealthy Aging Secrets live stream. I'm so glad you're here. The month of May is devoted to food or meals, and today's talk is called Separating Fat from Fiction. Yes, where do I come up with these things? I am certified holistic coach Susan Murray, the founder of Stealthy Aging Holistic Coaching, and I'm wading into a controversial topic when it comes to the care and feeding of humans, and that is fats in food. Now, if you are under 50 years old, you probably don't remember a time when dietary fat, especially saturated fat, wasn't demonized and blamed for just about every human ill imaginable, especially heart disease. A few years ago, the powers that be finally recognized that fat is not the boogeyman it was made out to be. But even though more and more evidence comes to light supporting the benefits of saturated fats, the powers that be continue to throw shade on saturated fat and continue to perpetuate the dangerous myth that newfangled, highly refined, polyunsaturated oils are safer and healthier for us than old-fashioned butter or cream or cheese from grass-fed cows or lard from pasture-raised pork or the fats that are naturally found in grass-fed beef. Now, I am not a nutritionist or any other licensed healthcare professional, so I invite you to take what I'm going to say here with a grain of salt, preferably unrefined sea salt, uh, and read the literature yourself. So to that end, I've collected a bunch of resources from the experts who study or have studied lipid science that can help you go deeper into the weeds on the issue of food fat. Lipid science is fascinating and very complex. But if you've either bought into the saturated fat is bad myth, or B, you berate yourself for enjoying foods that are rich in saturated fats, like the aforementioned butter, real butter, cream, cheese, crispy bacon, and a juicy grass-finished burger or steak. I hope this information can help put you at ease. And you can find that link in the description box. Meanwhile, I want to share a few of my personal takeaways from the resources that I'm sharing with you today. Saturated fats from both animals and tropical plants, such as coconuts, have fed and nourished humans for ages. Commercial, highly processed, polyunsaturated oils from nuts and seeds have not. Saturated fats from foods such as butter, cream, cheese, and those naturally occurring in meats are rich in fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K, and this form of A is the preformed A, or also known as retinol. It is not beta carotene, which is found in vegetables. And also the animal form of vitamin K is K2, unlike K1, which is in vegetables. And in fact, our bodies do a poor job of absorbing those vitamins and other nutrients without saturated fat. So having those vitamins in those saturated fats helps our body recognize, absorb, and assimilate them. Saturated fats have been found to lower lipoprotein little a in the parentheses, which is associated with heart disease. And it is saturated fat that raises HDL, or high density lipoprotein, which is the so called good cholesterol. And cholesterol is a topic for another day, but just suffice to say that we need cholesterol. If you look at a hormone cascade chart, every single hormone our bodies produce starts with cholesterol. It starts there. Saturated fats are satiating and delicious. They fill us up, and a little pat of grass-fed butter on steamed green beans is not only more satiating and enjoyable, but it provides more vitamins and helps our bodies assimilate the vitamins that are in those vegetables. And saturated fats tolerate high heat and have a long shelf life, unlike polyunsaturated fats from nuts and seeds, which do not tolerate heat and go rancid very quickly. In fact, polyunsaturated fats are so quick to oxidize and go rancid that some experts claim that because of the high heat extraction process used just to create those oils, that most vegetable oils, such as canola, which comes from rapeseed, are already rancid by the time they reach the grocery store shelves. In fact, canola oil is so refined, so highly refined, because rapeseed has a very unpleasant taste to begin with. So, and if that's not bad enough, those oils are simply have no nutritional value. While vegetable oils, as well as nuts and seeds, are rich in omega-6 fatty acids, which is highly pro-inflammatory, especially in high amounts. And we don't want inflammation. Inflammation is bad. But it is likely the consumption of rancid polyunsaturated oils that is causing the most damage and the most heart health. And yeah, good luck finding any prepared or convenience foods that do not have canola or other vegetable oils in them. Even those claiming to be organic and sold by the world's largest natural foods market chain. In fact, the next time you're there at that big market, read the labels sometime in the prepared, ready-to-eat buffet foods. Nearly everything contains canola oil. It might be organic canola oil, but it is still highly refined, highly inflammatory, and most likely rancid. And think about it, it's been sitting in those pans for how many hours in the warm heat? Canola oil, nonetheless. And that is why, it's one of many reasons why I just do not eat commercially prepared foods. And that's why I hate eating in restaurants. even the so-called, healthy restaurants, I just hate it because all restaurants use cheap oils. And they are the very things that I want to avoid. I've found from experience that when I do and shelf stable fat, it can stay in your cupboard or counter. It doesn't have to be refrigerated. I'm talking about ghee, and when it's from grass-fed cows, it is very rich in tallow, again from grass-fed cattle, coconut oil, but not very much anymore. Mostly because I really prefer butter and ghee. By the way, bacon gets demonized for being a saturated fat. I mean, how many times have we heard, oh, all that, the saturated fat in that bacon is going to clog your arteries? Well, guess what? Lard is higher in unsaturated fat than in saturated fat. In fact, here's the breakdown. Um, Lard contains 38 to 43% saturated fat, and total unsaturated fats are up to 62%. So it's very high in monounsaturated fat, up to 50%, and polyunsaturated fats up to 10%. So I do not use chicken fat, poultry fat, or schmaltz because for me, it is just too high in polyunsaturated fats. It's has polyunsaturated fats in 100 grams of poultry fat. It will have 21 grams of polyunsaturated fats, 45 grams of monounsaturated fats, and only 30 grams of saturated fat. But so I do remove for myself. I remove the skin off of chicken, and when I make chicken broth, I make sure to scrape all of the fat off after it chills. I scrape all of that fat off and I feed it to my chickens. So I avoid poultry fat because of the high levels of polyunsaturated fats. Let's see. And I also use extra virgin olive oil, but there again, we need to be careful because in recent years it has been revealed that olive oil, which is from the fruit of the olive, it's not seeds, but olive oil as well as other nut oils or nut oils such as macadamia nut oil, and also avocado oil, which is also not from the seed, it's from the flesh. But those oils have been found to be highly susceptible to adulteration and often have high levels of fats that aren't supposed to be in those oils, and even oils such as canola, being completely canola oil or corn oil or something that is not on the label. So I will use an organic extra virgin olive oil as long as it's from California, because the evidence I've found is that California olive oil, and I'm in the United States, so California olive oil has been found to be the least likely to be adulterated, at least here in the US. And then, of course, I don't use it for cooking at all. I might pour it over something that's already been cooked and heated, but I will use it more for salads. And yes, I make my own salad dressings. I never buy commercial salad dressings because they are going to have things like canola oil in them. Now, the one cheat I allow myself when it comes to oils is that I do use an organic coconut sourced MCT oil, or it's sometimes called fractionated coconut oil, or a medium chain triglyceride oil. Now, let's be honest, it is a manufactured oil. They start with coconut, but the finished product really doesn't resemble coconut. It really can't be called coconut anymore. Sometimes MCT oils are also made from palm, but I typically get the one that is made from coconut. And in all honesty, it is manufactured to remove really some of the best part of what makes coconut um, beneficial. But what is left is a very heat stable, saturated fat that remains liquid even in the refrigerator. And I use this solely for making my mayonnaise. I don't purchase mayonnaise in the store. It's so easy to make at home. It's so easy and it tastes so good. But then I also have control over what goes into it. I can make sure that the egg yolks I'm using are from healthy pasture raised hens. I can make sure that I'm using an oil that is going to be safe, that is shelf stable. And so, yes, I make it myself. Um, and that's the only thing I use MCT oil on. I'm not a put fat into your hot beverage kind of person because frankly, I'd rather get my fat from my food rather than add extra fat to a beverage. But that's just me. So let's see. Um, did I get that? Yes, and then a quick word about nuts. With the exception of macadamia nuts, nuts are high in unsaturated and particularly polyunsaturated fatty acids. So they can go rancid very quickly. So I personally limit my nut consumption, and that includes things like nut butters and flours, because once they are ground, those polyunsaturated oils can degrade and go rancid and oxidize very quickly. So I do not use flour, wheat flour, because I avoid gluten. Actually, I have eliminated gluten, but on the rare occasion that I want to make some kind of a baked good, I will use coconut flour because that I feel comfortable that that is not going to be rancid by the time I get the ground coconut flour to my house. And then one last thing on the issue of essential fatty acids, such as omega-3 and omega-6. So the standard American diet is very high in omega-6 fatty acids, which are highly inflammatory. And so it's important to balance omega-6 with omega-3. And a lot of people do that by taking fish oil supplements or cod liver oil supplements, and I used to do that. Personally, I no longer take fish oil supplements because of the high rate of oxidation and rancidity in those supplements. So, where do I get my omega-3s from, you might ask? I'm happy to tell you. I will eat salmon, wild caught salmon, and I typically will go for the frozen wild caught salmon before I go for fresh, because the fresh really isn't all that fresh by the time it gets to us who are on not only on the mainland but on the East Coast, and salmon is usually out west, right? In the Pacific. So at least wild salmon. I could be wrong about that. Maybe there's an East Coast source of wild salmon. I don't know. But typically I will prefer wild frozen salmon, which is rich in omega-3 fatty acids. And you don't want to hear this, but I'll tell you anyway. I've told you before. You may have forgotten. Every day I take a supplement of 1 ounce, about that size, of frozen, raw, grass-fed beef liver. And yes, I take it like a supplement. There's a video on my YouTube station of me show you how I do it. I take it frozen, I slice up tiny little pieces, I scoop it in, I down it with a gulp of water. And liver, beef liver, especially if it's grass fed, is rich with omega-3 fatty acids. And since it's also rich in high in folate, and it quite literally is a multivitamin in a little food package. Now, I've never learned to enjoy eating liver, and if you can, then eat it. Recommendations are between 4 to 8 ounces, usually no more than 8 ounces a week, because of the high level of vitamin A. It's the preformed vitamin A. And out of concerns of having vitamin A toxicity. But if you like to eat it, great. If you don't, I'm telling you, it sounds disgusting, but it really isn't, to take it raw like that. It really, it goes down pretty quickly, and I actually have reached the point that I enjoy it. I especially enjoy the fact that it's cheap. It's really good for me, so nutrient dense, and I'm getting so many things in that one little 1 ounce packet every day. So, let me see if there was anything else. I think that was it. And yeah, that's all I've got for you. Check out the links in the description, wherever the description is, depending on where you're watching this. And happy reading. And I will see you next time. Wishing you well.